I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happened to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time.
That's Malaya Brooks Murray talking about her missing children. And for someone who doesn't know what happened, she seems to know a lot about what happened. So in today's video, let's watch her interview and see if we can spot any guilty knowledge. I'm Deception Detective, an attorney trained in statement analysis. This channel exposes lies and manipulation. So if that's your thing, hit subscribe. For early access, exclusive videos, and other cool perks, consider becoming a channel member. Link in description. If you're not familiar with this case, don't worry because it's brand new. I only know about it because my lovely subscribers have asked me to cover it. So before we grab our deception decks and start analyzing, here's a quick recap.
The search for two missing children in rural Pictou County is now into its 5th day, and there's still no sign of 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan. The siblings went missing last Friday morning when it's believed they strayed from their home in Lansdowne Station. CBC's Preston Mulligan joins us now live from the search area with the latest on the efforts. Preston.
Good evening, Tom. Well, as you said, yes, as we near the end of day 5 in the search for these two young children, sadly, there is still no good news report. The RCMP held a news conference a couple hours ago to give us an update. Basically, there's not much else to say other than the search for Lily and her brother Jack continues here and around these woods and these deep woods in the Lansdowne area. Now, RCMP Search and Rescue are still working under the assumption that the 4- and 6-year-old wandered away from the home in Lansdowne, just south of New Glasgow on Friday morning. Today, some of the family members walked me through into that wooded area directly adjacent to where they live, maybe 20-second walk from the home into the woods. And as you walk into the woods, there's a little, kind of a tree fort, a little lean-to, and that's where the kids would play. And the family around there say they find it very hard to believe that given how thick the brush is on some of the steep banks around that area, and just the difficulty moving around if you sort of leave that trail, how difficult they find it to believe that they could have gone anywhere deeper than that into the woods.
No idea. I had no idea. I'm still searching every day. I'm waiting for information. I have to let them do a lot of their stuff with the aircrafts and everything else.
Okay, so that's the rundown. 2 toddlers disappear from their home in rural Canada, and that last voice you heard there was their stepfather. Which brings me to one final thing I want to go over before we start analyzing Malaya, and that's how I set my baseline whenever I start analyzing a brand new case. If you've been here for a while, you'll know that I'm a big proponent of Bayesian reasoning. In other words, our baseline is set at the statistically most likely scenario. In the case of missing children, one of the most likely scenarios is that they wandered off and got lost. So any evidence that suggests that theory will weigh heavily right away. But any evidence of something less likely, like a stranger kidnapping or a UFO abduction, will be really hesitant to weigh that evidence very heavily unless it's amazingly convincing evidence. And I know it might sound biased or unscientific, but it's actually one of the best frameworks for making predictions. And based on statistics about missing children, the exacerbating factor of a stepfather rather than a biological father in the home, and the strange statements this mother's making, I'm going into this already suspecting that the children probably wandered off. It might be worse, but I'm going to say probably wandered off, and that they might be lying about it because they were drugged up or neglectful or something of that ilk. All right, without further ado, let's listen.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happened to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time.
We're off to a bad start, and that's because this mother is doing lots of the things that we've seen verified hoaxers do on the channel. I've put the Spotting Hoaxes card from the Deception deck, my 52 favorite rules for spotting lies and manipulation, on your screen if you want to read all 4, but I'm just going to point out 2 of them right now. First, she's conclusive about how the children left the house, when if her story were true, that they were in and out of sleep, and you can't hear whether or not that door is being opened or closed, she wouldn't be able to know that. She also said that the kids were outside playing. Maybe she's guessing about that stuff or suspects it, but there's no way to state it this conclusively. Unless, of course, she made up that story in her own head. Second, her story is vague. What does drifting in and out of sleep mean? What noises exactly did she hear which let her know that the children were playing in the other room? She didn't even say what the kids' names are. And this is yet another sign of a hoaxer, because hoaxers, especially when they have a co-conspirator, like I think her boyfriend might be, if they actually have guilty knowledge, have to line up their stories over time with themselves and with each other. So the more concrete details they give, the more opportunity for people to catch them in their lies. Or if they're just low IQ, like many of the hoaxers we've analyzed on the channel, they never even think of those details in the first place. All right, let's keep listening, but to be clear, our baseline still hasn't changed.
They happen to just get out that sliding door and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet. And we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone.
I can see why so many of my subscribers commented for me to analyze this case, because we're about to have a royal flush of deception deck cards here. So let's just go through them one by one. First of all, we have a temporal lacunae, or a jump through time. And liars often use temporal lacunae like suddenly or I just woke up and noticed, because they want to skip over incriminating parts of their story. Second, we have changing tenses. You may have noticed that she started off telling her story in past tense, as we can expect when someone's recounting something that happened in the past. But as she told her story, all of a sudden she switched into present tense. And this can happen when people are constructing a story in real time or reconstructing a made-up story in real time, rather than recounting actual memories. Finally, we have explanations, and liars often give unnecessary explanations because they know they're lying, so they don't take their believability for granted. In this case, she felt the need to tell us why she called the police, as if her kids being missing wasn't a good enough reason. But beyond the red flags in the deception deck, I don't like some of the other things she's doing here. For instance, she's setting up her and her boyfriend's alibi by telling us that they must have been sleeping at the time. But if she was sleeping, how could she possibly know that he was also sleeping? Couldn't he have been awake and done something to them while she was passed out? She never seems to consider that as an option at all. And this lack of curiosity or suspicion about a non-biologically related father in the household with their children could be explained a lot of ways, but one of those ways could be that she actually knows what happened, so she's not curious about what he may have done. Finally, I don't like how she's leaving all those little breadcrumbs to sort of suggest or imply to us that the kids must have been kidnapped or gone off with a stranger by telling us how talkative they are and all that sort of stuff. It's unnecessary, and it's pretty blatant if that's what she's doing. All right, let's keep watching.
They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school. and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
That's the end of the interview. So where are we at right now? Well, we have a mother making statements that sound deceptive, and it sounds like she's trying to cover up some sort of neglect, possibly alcohol or drug use. We have a father who's a non-biological father, a stepfather, and we have 2 missing children who we've just learned might have autism. Unfortunately, all 3 are exacerbating factors in child abuse and neglect, and we've seen them in multiple cases we've analyzed on the channel. So if I'm betting right now, I'm betting that the children wandered off while the parents were getting stoned or high. Of course, that will evolve as we analyze more statements. If you want me to analyze the stepfather's interview, let me know by liking, commenting, and sharing. Until next time, stay true.